It's good to be back with you. I'm John Alexandrov, the CEO of Real Estate Inner Circle, and we have Michael Friedman, who's the director of our coaching services. We've been going through these principles, Michael, the series of videos we're creating about about different fears that buyers and sellers have and possibly agents have in moving from one company to another. We've covered the fear of making the wrong decision, the fear of making any decision, the fear of change, the fear of being taken advantage of, and now we're going to get to the big one, I think, and that is the fear of looking bad. I mean, there are so many buyers and sellers, and again, it could be an agent, could be someone who's taking out a mortgage, and the mortgage rate they've gotten is 4.75%, and they're afraid they're going to go to the cocktail party next week and hear someone get 4.73%, and it's going to make them look bad, like they made a bad decision. Or you mentioned a little bit earlier, maybe a seller might have to come to the closing table with some money, and they don't want to have to talk about that with their friends. So the fear of looking bad, I think, really gets in the way of buyers and sellers and possibly people who are taking out mortgage loans from making decisions.
Well, John, it does, and this is this fear, this common fear that all buyers, sellers have as we're talking about real estate, or taking out a loan, or making a change to move to a different firm. This one it kind of puzzles me, because people would rather not do something that would actually benefit them and lose money doing it than making that decision or stepping out and making that decision where it could actually benefit them.
We see this in the current market right now, where people would rather have their house foreclosed on
Absolutely.
Than doing a short sale. I mean, it's astonishing to me. Or making other types of decisions.
Well,
right?
it's astonishing, John, and I think the key thing is that we're so used to wanting to look good in other people's eyes and making sure that we do so that, if we sell our home today and actually have to come to the table, like you said earlier, with $20,000, how's my friend Jim down the street going to view that? Or, if as a buyer, if I buy the home today, and let's just say 6 months from now I could get it for $10,000 less, is my mother or father or my friend or my sister going to look at me and say, gosh, I can't believe how foolish you were, you should have
never
waited.
Bought that house in the first place, and
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you should have waited. And so what that's doing to people, and more importantly too, it kind of goes back to the fear of making any decision, as we talked about in fear number 2, which is we're being bombarded by so many messages that in our minds we're not sure exactly what to do. So our friend Jim could say, hey, you better wait and sell your home because you're going to get more money for it 6 months from now. And the last time I checked, Jim isn't a real estate professional. So, again, folks, this is one, again, that if you're experiencing and people are saying to you, well, we want to wait, we're not sure what we want to do, you need to probe and dig deep to find out if there is a root fear and cause of that. They might be feeling like, if I make the move to coming to XYZ firm, are people, my colleagues, my friends, going to look at me and say, oh, that doesn't make any sense? Unfortunately, that's what's shutting people down.
Well, Michael, we all immerse ourselves in cultures and communities and those kind of things, and I think we fear looking bad in front of those cultures or communities. So, for example, if we're a part of a culture of a certain real estate organization, a certain franchise, and we're thinking about making a move, well, sometimes we'll stay there, even if it's not in our best interest, because we don't want to look bad in front of the community. Or if we belong to a certain religious organization, we don't want to look bad in front of the community. Or we're part of a certain culture, we don't want to look bad. We want to fit in with those cultures. And I think a lot of that goes back to this point that we're making here today, that sometimes it's difficult for people to break away from a culture, to go to do something that really might be in their best interest, but they don't do because they don't want to look bad.
Well, and you're absolutely right, John. They would rather stay in that environment and actually sometimes potentially feel and be miserable.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
I mean, I hate to say this, but we've seen agents literally go bankrupt because they don't want to do something that's in their best interest.
I would agree.
Because they either fear looking bad, or they fear change, one or the other, right?
Absolutely.
So we want to make sure you're not in that position or putting yourself in that position. Of course, that's why we have the specific scripts, dialogues, and objection handlers specifically. And here's another very important point. As part of our coaching, when we're coaching agents one-on-one ourselves, we help them with this issue. We make sure that they don't have the sense that they're going to look bad if they improve themselves, that they're not going to look bad if they move beyond the mediocrity of the group around them, or they're not going to look bad if they're actually using scripts and everybody else on their team isn't using scripts. So we help them with the mentality of that.
Absolutely, and that's one of the great things about being involved in our coaching, John, is that we help them move beyond that. And for many people, that's a business decision, as we've talked about. And that business decision, it might take on the shape or form of, being a little uncomfortable, but there are people out there who need to make that choice and are afraid to do so. We can help you make those choices and make them a lot easier.
And as I mentioned in the previous video, doing that is as simple as going to our website at realestateinnercircle.net. And as I mentioned earlier, please make sure that you utilize all the tools that are on that website. And there's more video, there are interactive quizzes, there are business planners, and of course we have the success tracker that's on there now, which is an absolutely phenomenal tool in helping you build your business. Now, Michael, we're going to wrap it up in the next video with the fear or the lack of having sufficient information to make a decision. We're going to cover that in a moment.
Great.